Hello and welcome to the show. Our next vehicle to tackle the Hot Wheels Showdown is the Mercedes 190e, a car that I am hoping will have the grip and potentially the power to compete with that BMW. And we haven't had a Mercedes run around this course yet, so I feel like this is a good choice of car. I feel like this is a good choice of a vehicle to go nice and fast around this circuit. Of course, we will start off by putting it on the mandatory tyres. It is going to jump the PI up a fair bit. We do have an okay amount of PI to play around with in this car. 265s at the front, and I say only 285s at the rear. They're certainly not the biggest tyres we've seen on a car. It's not the worst that it could be, and we're not likely to see the horrendously crazy levels of power go on in this vehicle. Now, we are going to want a Forza front splitter. We are not going to want to remove that rear wing. I wonder if it's going to have like a Forza add-on wing, but no, that rear one is already an adjustable thing. I don't know how much downforce this car gets. It might be more than usual with that. With that fairly mighty spoiler, so I'm okay with that. What engines are not that I'm expecting to need to, but okay, so fairly standard stuff. Turbo Rally 3.2 and the 6.2 V8. Okay. Yeah, I'm not expecting to need that, but it's always helpful to know that kind of stuff. We will then get, well, the important bits and pieces in terms of handling. We want race brakes, we want race suspension, because as we've seen, handling is so very, very important. While you might not quite get to the very top of the table on handling, or if your car's not good enough handling, or not good enough straight line speed, sorry, I'll get there eventually. It's not quite got enough straight line speed, you may not quite get to the very, very tippy top, but it's finding that balance, and the cars that have had horrendous power and no control have not worked at all around here, so we definitely need to kind of focus on handling and hope that we have the PI to get away with enough power. Now, this car, I think, may be more leaning on the handling side with not enough power. That is my expectations with the 190e. What have we got in the way of aspiration options? Turbo or a centrifugal supercharger? I think we are going to... Let's go for the turbo. We'll go for the turbo on this vehicle. It's looking like we're probably going to be seeing fairly similar levels of horsepower out of this. As we saw from the Subaru, the Impreza was just about over 400, and it looks like that's the kind of level with the way that the PI is shooting up here. Maybe we'll get a little bit more out of this. Maybe we'll get a little bit higher. We're not going to have 700 or 800 horsepower. That much is for sure. But we have got more than the likes of the Alfa Romeo 4C, which is promising. We're getting up to kind of towards the Civic Type R's power figures. Now, do we go for... What I might do is we may go for a race intercooler, and then we will dump out weight everywhere else that we can, in the hope that, overall, I think we can probably get it back down to about the weight that it was before we put the intercooler in, and we've now got more power to be getting on with, which is nice. I think we're going to find ourselves at a really bloody awkward point in terms of PI. We are at 1 PI under, and as far as I'm aware, I have everything. I think I have a fully upgraded engine. The only thing I don't have is the oil and cooling. Okay, we'll go for 3 more horsepower for 2 pounds of weight. Yeah, that's worth it. Well, we could get 7 more horsepower. Oh, we can go for the full one. It kind of it's kind of keeping the ratio. I think we'll go for the full. We'll go for the full whack actually there. It's not making a huge amount of difference weight-wise. I think once we've got the car up to speed, the power will be more effective at dealing with the big banking than the weight will hinder it. That's what I'm going for anyway. That is the Mercedes, ready to tackle our course. And as I said, a car I think might fare pretty well. So, we have brought the 190e to the Skyscraper Takeoff Circuit. It is going to have 5 laps around here to try and go faster than that BMW M3. 133.7 is the time to beat, and proving to be a mighty quick time so far. Now, the Mercedes, I am expecting to be a little slower than the BMW in terms of straight line speed, and hopefully a little bit, I say a little better through the corners. I would like it to be a bit better through the corners. I wonder with our tyre width, well, having smaller tyre widths than that M3 may not particularly help it. I'm not sure if we've got the overall. Okay, yeah, we've not got. I know the 190 is a great handling car to begin with. However, I think we are not quite going to get the quarter speed that we would want out of it, although it's actually pretty good as we leave that first crossover section, or not crossover, sort of split section. It's actually carrying good speed at the end of that. The uphill turn was just a million miles of understeer. It wasn't a great run, 162-ish miles an hour. It's a fair way down on the likes of the Gremlin, not far off, 20 miles an hour slower than the Gremlin. We would perhaps expect that. The Gremlin had almost twice the power that we have to work with here. And despite it being a ludicrous amount of power in that car, the big old rear tyres, and the fact that a lot of these corners we're not having to accelerate from too lower speeds, meant that the wheel spin was not too bad. It was all very controllable in that AMC. Get a good launch off the secondary boost pad though as we run up around the loop. The car's only got 5 gears, so hence why we are not going any higher. What is going to be the top speed? Top speed pretty damn good actually, 221 as we get the car slowed down into the final corner. 35.9 for an opening run, and that included a little bit of an understeery moment through turn 4. I say a little bit, it was a big understeery moment through turn 4. And we've got this horrible turn 3. We are certainly not going to be flat out through there, but if we get a little bit of a lift on the way in, it feels okay through that section. Going to have a lift though on the way up here. Or do I want to change down to third, or do I want to leave it in fourth? The way you kind of bobble over the crests around there means it's always going to buzz the limiter around in third, but I wonder if we might get it launched off the corner a little bit quicker. Now let's try and not go so far exploring this time around. That was actually a very, very nice run through there up towards the crossover. 164, a little bit faster. Still, of course, nowhere near the speed of some of our quickest cars, but I would, as I said, be hoping that this is faster through the corners. It's one of these vehicles that it's not feeling massively quick. I'm going to be honest. This doesn't feel like it's a car that can get anywhere near the records. It doesn't feel like it was anywhere near as fast as that lap time would suggest. Oh, we might be a little bit of bother. We've got the car back under control, but it was a little bit twisted. Yeah, we're 35.9 on an opening lap is a very good time. This doesn't feel like a particularly quick car. We'll wait and see, of course, what the lap times are that come in later, as we can hopefully extract a little bit more performance. The first flying lap is a 34.4. It's quick. That's a quick flying lap. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's a 134 car in many ways. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel like it has the grip through the corners to compensate for what feels like not a huge amount of acceleration. The straight line speed is actually very good. You know, we're talking 220, 216 and so miles an hour. That's good speed. That's good speed around the loop. That's not good driving by me, but yeah, it's very, very good speed around that section. But, you know, it is fairly boost pad assisted to at least get it up to that speed. And around the rest of these corners, it just doesn't feel like it's going out of them particularly quickly. That being said, you know, there are times when cars that don't feel fast actually are very quick, and vice versa. There are vehicles that can be incredibly, incredibly nice to drive, feel like they are setting incredibly fast lap times, but just not be doing anything as you expect them to. It's just the way that it can go sometimes when it comes to vehicles. Now, if we can not bobble horribly, I was told a little bit far to the left that time around. If we could not bobble horribly on the landing, it was a safer landing at least. But we didn't quite. We want that line that lands us in between the middle and right-hand side boost pad for the second one, basically. Oh, that's late on the brakes. That's go way too late on the brakes. We're not quite stopping that one there in time. Okay, poor driving from me. Poor driving from me indeed, coming off of the loop. Well, this lap here is a little bit of a write-off. It's not going to go quicker, having had such a poor run onto it. So we are going to get once again, one more chance to find some speed. I might as well use this lap to see what I can get away with in the car, and the answer is not that. Yeah, you gotta push the car, you gotta find what its limits are, and as this lap is pretty much gone, experiment, see what you can and can't do with the 190e. I certainly know it's not going to be, for example, flat out through this next corner here. It's not got the grip. See, that was with just a small lift. I think it's going to have to be a tiny dab on the brakes. It's still talk about 140 miles an hour on the exit, if you like, or kind of the exit of the split section entrance to the actual corner. Ooh, that's too late on the brakes as well. I'm busy thinking about other parts of the track and not focusing so much on where I am actually got the car. It's a terrible lap, but I think I know what I'm doing. I think I know what we can do with this vehicle. Yeah, in terms of the car's overall pace, I would be very surprised if we can get it into the 33s. It doesn't feel like a car that has that balance between speed and handling. Quite frankly, it doesn't feel as good to drive through the corners as the BMW, and it doesn't feel quick enough accelerating. The top speed is good, but yeah, overall it doesn't feel like it's quite got enough in any particular category to seriously threaten the BMW. However, I wouldn't have put the lap time down as a 34.4. It's obviously able to make some lap speed, so we will see what I can extract out of the car on this final attempt. Now, we're going to get some mid-corner understeer. We cannot hold it flat out through there. We have to have a little bit of a lift. And likewise, up here, we're going to have a little go on the brakes, but still carrying good speed across the crest. So by not going down to third, we didn't actually get any wheel spin. We didn't actually have the car sliding around. There's that understeer again, just creeping in through the corners. Yeah, it's got understeer through some of these higher speed corners, and then as we come out the slower speed sections, we're actually struggling with a little bit of wheel spin. I wouldn't have expected that to be an issue with the 190e. It doesn't have the biggest tyres, no, but it also doesn't have a huge amount of power. I say that when I'm used to dealing with cars with 800-900 horsepower around here. 500 and a bit is not a huge amount. And the CTSV and Gremlin and so on, yeah, had bigger tyres, but much more power, and they were, well, better behaved. They were better behaved than the Mercedes. So that is an interesting one, and one that I wasn't expecting to be saying necessarily. A good launch of the boost pad. Sets us up nicely for the final corners. It was, I think, about 210, 211 coming around the loop. Maintained the speed nicely. We're looking about 220 on the run down here. Get on those very, very big brakes. They are good in the Mercedes around the final turn. We run towards the line. It's into the 33s. It isn't going to beat the BMW, though. A 33.994 from our 190e. It's a good lap time. It's a good lap time from a car that doesn't feel like it is going that quickly. It's a strange thing, and it is a very hard thing to explain if you haven't driven a car that behaves in this manner, if you haven't come across a vehicle that acts like this. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it is the second fastest car to have ever gone in this series. We are just 0.2 of a second down on that BMW M3. We go quicker, just half a second faster than the CTSV. We beat the Eclipse, we beat the NSX, the Civic Type R, the 911 GT2, and so on. All in a car, yeah, that doesn't actually feel massively quick, but it is getting its lap speed. While it might not feel amazingly fast through the corners, it is certainly carrying enough speed, and that straight line speed is actually very, very good indeed. I was expecting, in all honesty, I was expecting more in terms of handling and less in terms of straight line speed. It was overall we got the lap time out of the car, but yeah, not quite the feel that I expected from the vehicle. Either way, you can't really grumble with a 133.9. Well, it is now the Germans. The Japanese led the way in this series for a while. The Germans have taken over. Who knows what it is going to take to beat that BMW. That, though, is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.